Hello, hello, hello. What? You mean app member?
Oh, you @membered us by accident. So
Oh,
everyone got a ping. But yeah,
wait.
because if you do @member in the the actual ACM server, everyone gets pinged.
Oh,
Yeah,
whoops.
that's okay.
What is it? Oh, it's event announcements, huh?
Yeah, I think
It's
it looks like you changed.
oh,
Oh no, you didn't change it. Oh, you have both. Yeah,
oh, I get like copy pasta.
yeah. It's okay. I figured he was probably
Wait,
copy.
how did that happen? I don't remember, dude. I'm
Oh yeah,
trolling.
it shows like twice.
Wait, what? I don't remember, dude.
Daniel, your screen share is scuffed, by the way.
Oh yeah, it's so scuffed. It's like my level
I
scuffed.
literally. All right, I
Oh,
literally.
now it's fine.
Wait, is it better now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I literally cannot read chat then. So
I can moderate it if it's cool.
okay,
And I can like answer some questions too. So
yeah. Okay, just let me know.
what's up, Jacob?
How's everyone doing? Hope y'all are having a good Friday night. Yeah, so if you haven't, make sure to install Node.js and Postman. So you can install Node.js, just look up download Node.js, and you can find something, and then download Postman, and then you'll find a link. So just download those two things.
You can do it through Homebrew. You can do it through Homebrew if you have Homebrew.
Yeah. And then I think because the slides are also at acmur.com/sdhacks. So if Sherman, can you like link that?
Yep, got it.
So if y'all want to follow along, I mean, just click that link. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So screen's all good, right? I'm saying, okay, this is so.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Put it on. Okay. I'm good. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to get ahead and get started. Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome to our ACM workshop where we'll teach you how to build your own web server using JavaScript. If you are not part of ACM, make sure you register for an account at members. Like if you're attending UCSD and you want to join our organization, you can go to members.acmucsd.com. You can make an account and you can put in a check-in code. Well, that's called SD hacks, and you can get points. And eventually, those points will do something. But for now, you can just get points if you put in that code. And so, yeah, wait, we're recording, right? Just double check. I literally cannot tell.
Yeah, I'm recording. We're good on that.
Okay, cool. Thank you. All right. Wait, wasn't there a slide beforehand? Yeah, so these are our links, by the way. Oh, yeah. Okay, here you go. So these are our links. So follow along the slides at acmur.com/sdhacks, and then acmur.com/sdhacks-repo is the example that we'll be like going through. So that has the GitHub repo. So just keep that link handy. Okay, I have to use arrow keys for this. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start by giving a quick introduction to JavaScript. So yeah, so JavaScript is a pretty simple language. I like to say it's simple. It can be a little complicated sometimes because it's just weird. But I'm gonna go through some of like the basics of JavaScript that you need to know for this workshop. So declaring variables, there's 3 different ways. You can declare variables using var, let, or const. So notice it's not types based. JavaScript is not a object-oriented language, or it's not strongly typed. And so var is like the old way to declare variables. It makes the variables globally scoped. Let and const are the more modern approaches. So I recommend just kind of using those 2 methods and not using var. Let just lets you create a variable and change the value of it later. Const is a constant, so you can't change the value of it later. So you can see in this example, like here, I can set my var to be 6 later on, but here I can't set my var to be 6 later on, because that will result in an error if I make it a const. And then creating a function in JavaScript. So there's 2 ways. So the normal declaration is you have the function keyword. And then, yeah, function keyword and then method name and then parameters, and then you do all your logic after. The second way is to do arrow functions, and that's what you'll probably be seeing a lot more in this workshop. Just because arrow functions are kind of the more, again, they're the more modern approach to writing JavaScript. And so really arrow functions, this should actually be const sum. So like, it's more like this was like, if I was making a variable, kind of like before, it should be more like const sum or let sum or whatever, equals and then parameters. And it's called an arrow function because there's an arrow that goes to curly braces indicating it's a function. And then you do all your same logic in there.
Daniel,
so you're aware.
you might want to reshare your screen to it's only sharing the Chrome window because it's starting to scuff the screen.
Yikes. Okay, let me.
Right now it's okay, but I'm worried it's gonna be.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Let me. All right.
Yeah, I've had this issue too. I just fix it by only screen sharing the window.
Okay. Yeah, later I do need to screen share the whole thing, but for now.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, for now we can just do this though. It's fine.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So that's just kind of like the very like basics of JavaScript. We'll talk more about it as we go on with the workshop. Now I kind of want to talk about the client server model. So kind of go into like why we want to build a server and like what's kind of the idea behind it, the ideology. So this is like a standard web app architecture. You can also use this for like mobile and like just systems in general. You have like your client and your server. So it's really like this client could be a computer, could be a phone, could be, I don't know, a Raspberry Pi, it could be whatever, right? It could be anything. And our server is kind of like the center of like the center that manages information. And so, for example, from the client side, you might ask for information from, you might have like a database that has all this cool information, but you want to get that data somehow. And so having a server in the middle is kind of lets you organize the way and regulate the way data is like transferred to the database or fetched from the database. And so here, like you have a client that makes a request to the server, and then the server can query the database, for example, and then once the server gets the data, it sends it back to the client, right? And so the server is like responsible for handling kind of like the business logic of all this. And so that's why making servers like super important. API, so it's kind of like the middleman. That's part of the whole web server idea. Basically, API stands for Application Programming Interface, and it's a toolkit for a client to interact with. So we'll talk more about like API routes, but basically, like I mentioned before, if the client asks the server like, hey, I want to know the list of hackers attending SD hacks from the database. And so you would go to an API route, and that API route could fetch that data and return it back to you. And so, yeah. So before we go on, so just I think I mentioned this already, but things to install Node.js and Postman. Yeah, so make sure you have those 2 things downloaded. And okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and share my whole computer now. Feel free to ask any questions in the chat, by the way. I can't see it, but I'm sure one of our fellow Shrevin or one of our fellow ACM people will answer that. Let me. Okay. So all of you that are watching right now, I want you to kind of just follow along. So I don't think this is the right repo. Wait, this is the wrong repo. Hold up, give me a second. Stash repo. Let me update this. So okay. So if you go to acmu.com/sdhacks-repo, this leads to our GitHub repository, and this is where we're gonna kind of be interacting with. So what you can do is you can just go to the green button. you can go to HTTPS and then just copy the link, and then in your terminal, let's open up terminal just so you can still see the steps. Go to whatever project directory you want to go to. So I'm just going to go to like projects, and then I'm going to do git clone the link, and I can just go into the link. Yeah, and so that lets me download the repo, and then I can do npm install. So npm is a node command that you get when you download Node.js. So again, make sure you download Node.js. So basically, we're going to run npm install and then do npm start. Oh, I'm already. Hold up. It will work. It will work. There you go. Yeah, so once you do npm start, you should see something like listening on port and then the number, like 3000. Yes, Ronak, install, yeah, install git if in case you haven't. But yeah, so that's kind of the steps to do this.
Yeah. Will it take like a minute or two to
Yeah.
kind of like wait for people to catch up?
Yeah.
Because installations might take a bit. So.
Mhm. Yeah. So I'm just gonna stay on the screen and just like kind of check chat. Thank you, Ronak. Anyone have any like questions on anything so far? Yeah, we'll just take a. You can take like a. You can take 2 minutes. Maybe if you have it like, if you have it working, just maybe put a thumbs up in the participants window so that I kind of see like who has it ready. And then let me know as well if you want me to like go through the steps again. I drink water actually. You drink water if you haven't already. Very important to hydrate. Okay. Yeah, maybe at a like 7:15ish. I'll go ahead and keep going. We'll be doing some stuff to this example later on, so it'll be great if you can have it set up locally. And it's also this repo is also a good starting point for your SD Hack project if you're going to be needing a server, which more likely than not you probably will. But have you downloaded Node.js, Andrew? And then also what OS are you on? Ah, you Windows people. Okay. Oh Lord. Where are you in? Wait, Andrew, are you in like Git Bash or are you in like command prompt? Like make sure you're in yeah, make sure you're on like some Linux terminal. Not sure. What errors and warnings are you getting, Ryan? Yeah, Andrew, I think for you, I'd recommend using WSL, but I know that takes some time to set up. Git Bash should work, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's up with that. I've heard like Windows people have issues installing Node.js sometimes. But Ryan, what errors are you getting? Thanks, Enot. Hold up, I have to Google as well. How do I wait? Whoa. Too much stuff on the screen. Is this when you're running npm install, or what are you running? Okay, did you run npm install? Let's make sure you run that first. Oh,
Yeah, so warnings when you do npm install are fine, because they could like skip optional dependencies, and like find vulnerabilities and all that. So
oh my god,
that's fine.
why is my screen so like this? Here, let me, okay. Hold up. Okay. Let me try screen sharing again. Okay, maybe just like keep typing in chat, like if you have issues or whatever. I'm gonna
Yeah.
take some time now.
I'll DM you, Ryan. We can figure this out.
Yeah, I'm gonna like take some time, just go through like the code a little bit and like just kind of walk through what's going on. Is my screen still scuffed, by the way? Or is it good right now? And someone's got a voice because I'm not opening chat, because I think chat is what ruins my screen.
It looks better, Daniel.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna go through a little bit like how, like kind of like the structure of this, like this repo, like what did you just download, right? And like what code does what. So first off, I want to start with the package.json. So with Node.js, when you build a node module, package.json is kind of what manages the module. It tells you a lot of the important metadata, such as like the name of it, like version, private, like all this stuff. Scripts. So when we ran npm start, the reason it worked is because when we run start, it runs this command, node, and then /bin/www. So node is just the command, and then this is a file, which we have. And then dependencies is like the list of node modules that we need in our server. So we use the cookie parser module, we use the debug module, we use the express module. So these are our external modules. When we ran npm install, it installed all of these, and that's why you see like a node modules folder that's like really big. And so it's always going to be big. So like it sucks. Just make sure you never commit those in your Git. So that's why in Git ignore we don't ever want to commit that to our GitHub repo. And so this bin/www is where it all starts. So you don't have to like fully understand the code that's happening in here. All you need to know is that here is where the port gets determined. So we have a server that listens on this port. And we see that it takes some settings from app, which is from app.js. And so this is kind of where the core of everything starts. App.js has, we install Express, which is kind of like the server API framework. We have routers as well. And so there's a lot of stuff going on in here as well, but I think the important thing to note is kind of this part. So we're creating a bunch of routers in here, and these routers are defined in index.js and games.js. And so here is where all of our routes are defined. And so in this routes folder, we're going to be working mainly in games.js. So there's like a bunch of to-dos in here. But this is where we're going to be working in mostly. This is going to have all our logic for our APIs. So yeah, that's kind of like a very brief overview of like that code. Let me just screen share my Chrome window again. Okay. So yeah, so package.json has a bunch of things. These routes. So if you looked in the code, if you looked in the code a little bit, you saw something like this. It was like router.get, and then like function. So this is what I was talking about. This is a regular function, but this is an arrow function. It's just a side note. Oops. So what's happening in here? So basically, these functions are called when the users try to access a corresponding page or endpoint. And so in Express, these functions they actually have 3 parameters. They have request, response, and the next function. And so whenever you create an API route, which I'm going to go into what that is in a little bit, whenever you create an API route, you're going to need all this. So you need the route. So in this case, it's just slash. And then you need a function that has these 3 parameters. So represents the request, res is response, and next is just it's like a middleware function that says to go to the next part of the request flow. You won't need to worry about next too much, but rec and res are the more important parameters. And so I've been saying like APIs, API route like all this time. And so what do I mean by that? Oops, I think I'm going twice. So again, I missed this slide as well. So when I talk about API endpoints, this is an example of an endpoint, right? So like HTTPS : //localhost 3000/me. So this is an example of an endpoint. So you're probably used to like this HTTPS part, like the protocol, and then you're used to the URL. So for example, like to go to this workshop, you have to go to test.link. Yeah, test.link. So that's kind of like the URL. And then we have the port number. And so this is like a little different, but we have a port number when we run our server. But it's still the same idea, like it's all part of a URL that gets translated to an IP. And then slash, and then everything after the slash is an endpoint. And so in this case, it's yeet with 6 E's. So this is an endpoint. When you make API endpoints, you can have a bunch of different endpoints, right? You can have like slash like game or like slash hackers. So like for example, that example I brought up earlier, where let's say you want the list of all the hackers that are attending SD hacks. Maybe you want to create an API route called slash hackers, and when you go to slash hackers, it returns with the list of all of the hackers that attended. And so with API specifically, there's 4 operations that are crucial. So when you create a route, you should have these 4 operations in mind. So it's creation, read, update, and delete. So what I mean by that is like, if you have like some data, you need to be able to do these 4 things to that data. Oh, you can't see my fingers, but because of the virtual background, but I'm holding up 4 fingers, these 4 things. And so each of these actions have a corresponding request type to them. And so in order to create, we're going to use a post request. Post request is an HTTP request type. And so when I say a post request, this is what I mean. It's just a type of request defined by HTTP. And so with a post request, you use it to send data to a server. Data sent to a server is stored in the request body, and it's not idempotent, meaning that every time you do a post request, it'll lead to different results. So like, if you try to create the same object multiple times with with the same request, it's not going to work. But just know that like post is associated with create. In order to read, we do a get request. So get is associated with read. So get is the HTTP type. And so when get request is like the most common type of HTTP request, by the way. Like whenever you visit a website, that's literally a get request because you're getting, I know I keep going back and forth, but you're getting a HTML page, and then the web browser just does stuff with that HTML page. But the action of fetching the HTML page is a get request. And so that's kind of like the most common thing that you probably do on a day-to-day basis. Like you probably get stuff all the time without even knowing it. And so get requests utilize the query string a lot more than other requests. So in a get request, you probably see this a lot as well. Like if you look at the URL, it's like I don't know, youtube.com/ whatever, and then question mark, and then I don't know, like you probably see like timestamp is whatever, and then you go to like a specific minute or second of the video. And so the endpoint, and so in this little example, /hack school is like the endpoint, but question mark, everything after the question mark represents the query string. And so here we can specify like name equals Daniel and year equals 2019. So like, let's say, again, we brought up that we use that example of fetching all the hackers and SD hacks. Maybe we want all of the people graduating in 2022. So you can pass in like /hackers question mark year equals 2022. And then ideally this request will output all of the hackers that are graduating in 2022. And then to do updates, it's an HTTP put request. And so this just means you want to update a resource or update your data. This is idempotent, so which means that this is supposed to say put. If you, why is my computer dying already? Okay. If you perform the same put request more than once, it'll lead to the same result. So yeah. And then delete, so there's a delete request, and this just deletes an object. And so again, the main four is post, get, put, and delete. There's a lot of other HTTP request types, but these are the most common four. I keep holding my fingers up, like these are the most common four that you need to know. Okay, so let's go ahead and make a few endpoints. And so let me kind of give a quick demo first of like what I mean. And then I'll give you guys maybe like 10 minutes to just kind of work on it and like figure it out. And then I'll go through it at the end. But basically, I don't need to go to Discord. I need to go to here. Okay. So this is my example, I think. Yes. Okay. So I'm assuming you have like your example cloned to your local computer. And so we're going to use Postman. And so I brought up Postman earlier. Make sure you have this downloaded as well. And so what you're going to do, so first thing I want everyone to do this. So you see this link, this Postman URL link. So we're going to copy this link. You're going to go to, at the top left, you're going to go to not new, imports. I was hoping I wrote the wrong thing. You're going to go to import link, and then you're going to enter this link. And so when you continue, it's going to like confirm your import ACM XSD hacks request. Like, yeah, sure, import. I already have it, so I'm not going to import it again, but you could just import it. And then you should see these four requests: get, post, put, and delete. The main reason, so just to give a little background on what like Postman is and why you need it, Postman kind of simulates a bunch of different API requests or HTTP requests. And there's not really an easy way without Postman to kind of simulate this. Like you can write code, but who wants to write code? Coding sucks. No, I was kidding. So you probably just want to just have an easy application where you can just click a button and then send a request. And the important thing is you can specify which type, because like on a browser, you can only really do GET requests. So anyways, so once you've done that, you probably have to do a little bit of setup first. Okay, yes, I am low battery. I understand. Once you have that setup, you probably have to do a little bit of setup if you are just installing Postman. What am I doing? I'm going to go here. So I'm gonna go ahead and start the server. Oh my God. I keep doing this to myself. Okay. ACM start. So here you're going to see listening on port 3000. So that's why you see in these requests we're going to be using the same link, localhost 3000 /API games. Which that was I guess that was another thing I didn't really mention, is that like you can have different request types associated with the same endpoint. So you don't need to have you don't need to have different endpoints for different operations. You can just use the same one, and depending on the request type, your server should know like which function to execute. So that's why like all of these requests have the same endpoint. It's just they have a different HTTP request type. And so let's just say so if I run, I need to move my thing. Okay, so if I click send here, you should see like all this data, like right here. So we have like Fortnite, League of Legends, Smash Bros. So this is in this example. So this repo, by the way, I guess I didn't mention the database part. So we simulate a database here. So we don't actually connect to a real database. We're just using a local dictionary, which is the most primitive form of a database. Basically, we have an ID, and in this ID, you have a bunch of different fields and store different values. And so, in this case, like this example I'm using is like maybe you want to make a games wish list. So I want Fortnite, and like you said, specify the price, and you put your own notes on it. Yeah, so that's the context of this. So when I do a GET request on /API/games, I see all this from the database outputted, which if you go into route/games.js, it executes this portion. So if you see router.get, it executes everything in here. That's why you see like res.status 200.json gamesdb. So this is the part that's sending, oops. This is the part that sends the stuff from gamesdb, which is something we imported. This is what sends this to our client. So in this case, Postman is our client. To tie back to the idea of client server model, Postman is our client, and this is our server. And so I think you also see, my thing's covering. Yeah. So you also see in like the terminal, it says get/API/games. So express logs like what requests have you have done. And so here it logs that, oh, you did a get request and it responded with a code of 200, which 200 means it's good. Like 200 is like, oh, the request went through, the request is fine. Yeah. So yeah, so that's a get request. You can also do this for the other requests. Like if you click send here, you'll get something. You click put, you get something. But right now, there's not really any functionality to this. So like you can click those buttons and you should see this show up like, oh, you did a post request, you did a put request, you did a delete request. But nothing's really happening. Like when I do a post, I can look basically in this post request, in the body, this is what I'm passing in. And I'm expecting that, if you remember, a post request means I'm creating a resource, right? I'm creating data. And so I'm expecting like this thing to be created in our database. But remember, I ran this just now, right? But if I call it again, I don't really see it added to my database, right? Like if I add it to the database, I should see it in the GET request. And so that's not what's happening. Yeah, and you can see the body params if you go to body, and then you should see all this in here. And then yeah, and then same thing for delete, right? Like I pass in an ID of 1, and I want to delete the game 1, but it's clearly not deleted. And so that's not what's happening. And so your task now is to try to figure out, like, to kind of look around this repo a little bit and try to figure out like how can we do this functionality. And so I listed a bunch of to-dos here. Add filtering and get request to query games based on price. I can go ahead, maybe I can start with the first one, and then you all can try like figuring out the last 3. Feel free to ask in chat if you have any questions. Let me grab my charger so that my laptop doesn't die real quick. Give me two seconds. All right, there we go. My laptop has been saved. It's on the brink of death. Okay. Yeah, I can go ahead. I can just start with the first one, and then you all can try to figure out the other three. Does anyone have any like questions real quick? I'm gonna take a pause, look in the chat. Yes, link to the slides. So acmur.com/SD hacks. Yeah, you can follow along here. Yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, feel free to keep asking questions. Also, like, don't feel free to like just say it out loud. Like, you don't need to just chat. You can also just unmute. Let me go ahead and start with this first one and how we would do this first one, and then I'll let you all try to figure out the last three things. So the idea here is I want to get filtering, and I want to add filtering in the GET request to query games based on price. So what does this mean? So maybe there we go. So let's say I want to pass in price as a query parameter. So remember that for GET requests, they use query parameters, meaning everything after the question mark. So here, and meanwhile, these three requests use the body. So that's why like these three, you're gonna look into in the body tab to find the data. But for GET requests, you're just gonna use this question mark, everything after the question mark. So let's say for price, we do 10. And the idea here is I want to get all of the games that are less than $10. And so like, obviously right now, if I do it, nothing's gonna happen, right? Like we need to actually make the functionality happen in our server. So if I go to games.js and here, so you should see this part. So like params equals rect.query. And so this portion is just saying that like if we pass in an ID, you only get one of the items. So I'll show that later, what I mean by that. But you don't need to worry about this right now. So let's say, so we'll use the fancy way, or I'll do it the simple way first. So yeah, so in order to get the price, what we can do is we can do const price equals params.price. And so you can do this in like, yeah, you can do this in JavaScript. I know if you're not used to JavaScript, you're used to like Java, where they're like, oh, price is not a field in this object. JavaScript is like, I don't care. You can call it, if it exists, it exists. If it doesn't exist, it doesn't exist. JavaScript is just kind of like that chill friend that doesn't care about anything in the world. So so I just want to show like this. I want to verify that this works. So like, you know, when you're doing like coding, you might want to go step by step to make sure things work. So I can just do npm start again. And so now if I call this GET request, click send, oops, I think I did it twice, but yeah, so I logged this, which is the price. So yeah, so if I do params.price, that clearly worked. So now I just want to return everything under 10. So we can do, again, just a reminder, this is kind of what the schema looks like. So you have like, this is just the ID, and then this is the object itself. And so we can do const, let's say const filtered games equals bracket. So this is, we're gonna make an empty array, and then we want to iterate through all of the games. So let's do for let ID in games. So what this will do, this is going to iterate through everything in our database. ID is our ID, and so to get the actual game, we need to do gamesdb of ID. And so yeah, gamesdb of ID, and then now we only want to add it to our list if it's under $10. So how do we do that? So we can maybe do, we can just do an if statement. So we can do if game dot price is less than the price that we gave, then we want to add it to filtered games. You get it's push, right? Okay. I haven't been JavaScript in a while. So you can do, so in JavaScript, you do dot push on an array to add something. So we want to push the game. And we probably only want to do this if a price is provided. So maybe we want to do like if params.price. Whoa, wrong one. Okay. So maybe we want an if statement. So we say that like, oh, we only want to do this logic if the user passes a price. Yeah, let me see something like this. And then here we just do res.status 200. So this just means like the error, the thing went well, the request went well. We'll do JSON, and then we'll do filtered games. Okay, see if that worked. So I'm gonna do npm start again. So let's just do it without price first to make sure we didn't break anything. Okay, cool. It looks like we didn't break anything. Now we do price of 10. Nice. So we only got the games under 10. So that's good. We did good job. I'll leave this up a little bit. Anyone have any questions about what I just did? Yeah, you can do, there's a lot of different ways you can, yeah, like Shrevin mentioned in chat, there's like a bunch of different ways you can do this. There's like an easy one-liner way to do this in JavaScript, like instead of having to do all this logic. I don't want to go too much, too much into it right now. But there's a one-liner way. So there's just a, okay. Yeah, so I guess I'll give you guys like 5 minutes until 7:50 and just maybe just like kind of look through this code and like try to figure out like how would you implement complete the functionality for the other 3 requests. So just a reminder, we want to be able to add the game to our database in the post request. For number 3, we want to update the fields of the game specified in our put request. And number 4, we want to delete the game specified in our delete request. So just take maybe 5 minutes, just maybe just look through it, figure out like how you would do it and like try to actually do it. And yeah, and then I'll just kind of live code it at 7:50 and then we'll wrap up the workshop. So yeah. Nice. Maybe I can put some, I don't know if my audio is shared or not. Maybe I can put some like
Lo-fi hip hop.
lo-fi hip hop. No.
Ooh.
Oh my God, don't look at my, don't look at my recommended. Okay. All right. I'm just gonna leave this, slide. Is this audio sharing?
Yeah, it's kind of scuffed though. It's like coming with your background noise a little bit.
Like that kind
I
of.
hear both.
I don't know how to share like the.
True.
True. You only put this on if you have to grind on a last minute assignment. Yeah, I don't know how Garrett did it. How do you share my audio? That hurts. Again, feel free to ask any questions in chat or unmute so I can hear your beautiful voice. So let me lower this a little bit.
Wait,
So-
Daniel, I think you could just like turn it off.
okay. So games DB is so what a constant means is that you can't reassign it. So like if you made you don't need to change it to a var basically. Because constant just means you can't reassign it to a new value, but you can still edit the values inside it. So one thing you can do is you can just do like let me show you, like, let me just do a quick, like, actually, let me not do it in here. Let me do it in let's do it in the JavaScript console right here. So, oh my God. I just want to, okay. I think you can see that, like, I'm like down here. Let's say we have an object. Like, this is an empty object. The way you could add something is like you can do bracket of like some key. So like, let's say the key is 1 equals, and then we can make this any value we want. So we can do like that, for example. And then now that's how we added something to the object. And you can do the same thing for like 2 equals 2, and then j. And then that added a new value. And so notice like it's a constant, but we can still edit the things inside. What constant means is that you can't do like you can't reassign it to a new object like that. That's going to give a type error and be like, oh, you can't do that. This is one of the few things JavaScript is strict on. And so, does that answer your question, Shane? Yeah. Yep, for sure.
Also, one thing to note is you shouldn't really use a var like at all in your JavaScript code that you write. Why we mention it is because you'll see a lot of older code use var because it was part of an older JavaScript version. That was like the only way you declare variables. But now there's let and const, which are like far superior because of like their scoping and like they're just overall useful. So you like shouldn't use var because like var is outdated.
If you need
So
a
it's either
variable,
const or let.
use let.
Yes.
Okay, I'll go. Yeah, I'll go ahead and start live coding in like a minute. Okay, 7:50. I'm just gonna go and like live code it. So it's okay if you haven't like finished or anything, as long as like maybe you've thought about it. That's good. So let me just like kind of live code this. I think I can do this in 10 minutes. How is Postman accessing the JavaScript? So you have to start the server first when you do npm start. And so basically, yeah, when you do npm start, that starts our server. And what it does is it takes a port in our computer and exposes it. So in this case, it's port 3000, and our server will be exposed through port 3000. And then what Postman does is it says, oh, you want to go to this URL. And in our Postman, we specified 3000. So it's like, oh, you want to go here? And then let me just send a request there as if I'm the client. And then at 3000, like it'll do something. So like, that's why like if I don't have the server up and I just click send, like it's not going to work because like it's like, oh, there's nothing happening here. Like the connection's refused. But if we turn on the server, then that's how the request goes through. So it's not like, yeah, it's accessing the server in this way, if that makes sense. Okay. So in this case, we just want to add it to our database. And so kind of like I mentioned before, you can do games DB of, and then the key. So in this case, we're going to do UUID because I want to generate a new ID every time. So we can do games DB of UUID equals this object. And so I want to make a new object. And in this case, we have the three fields. And so you can do this dynamically or like hard code it. Like I'm just gonna hard code it. Like maybe like, because we know you have, wait, where is it? We know there's 3 fields. So you can just do like name is params.name, price is params.price, and then notes is the other one. Is params.notes. Again, there's like a lot of other ways to do this. Like you can do this without having to hard code this, but I don't want to like go into it because it'll probably get a little confusing. If you're interested after, you can ask me. But yeah, so we do something like this, and then that. So let me just verify this works. So we do npm starts. And so how do you verify this? So I'm going to turn off the price filter because that's not really relevant. So these are our initial 3 games, right? Now if we do post, this is what's in our body. So again, it's the name, price, and notes. We do send. Okay. And now if we go to get, there's an additional thing that we just added to our database because of our post request. So that's how you verify that like it works. So yeah. And then as for the put request, so basically the idea here is we want to update all the fields from the request and update the corresponding item in our database. And so this one can be a little bit trickier, but what you can do is you can just do, how do I go about this? We can do, we want to go through all of the keys in our param that were passed in because we only want to update those keys, right? So let's do this. Let's do for let key in params. And so this is very similar to what we did earlier in this filter, like let ID and gamesDB. Because parameters is the same way, right? Like if you look at the parameters for put, it's just the same idea with like key and values. And so this let key in params, key is what's on the left side. So it's like ID and price. So we're going to say, so we only want to do things if key is not the ID. So if it's not ID, by the way, side note, JavaScript does 3 equal signs for comparison. So like you would do equal or not equal. You could do double equals, but there's a whole reason why like you should do triple instead of double, but I don't want to go into that right now. Just do 3. So if you do keys not equal ID, then we want to update this key in our database. So we could do gamesDB. We need to access the specific item. And so the way we access this specific item, oh my God, I can't talk, is you do a params ID. And then now that we have the item, we want to update the field. So using the key. So now we do the key equals, and then the value is params of key. So this is like probably super confusing. I'll break it up like real quick, just so it kind of makes sense. Value, and then I think this is fine. Yeah, so games ID, you access the specific item, and then once you get that item, you update the key and you set that key to this value. So again, let's verify this works. So again, how do we verify? Let's start with the basic GET request. So the reason, by the way, why like we lost that last, like we only have these 3 now, that's because every time you restart the server, all your data is lost. Just because this is, again, a mock database, right? Like we initialize this every time we start the server. Obviously, like for production or whatever, you don't want to ever do this. Like if you want your data to stay, use some kind of persistent database, like use MongoDB, use Postgres, use, I don't know, Azure Cosmos DB. I don't know, there's a lot of different options.
Firebase.
Firebase, yes, how did I forget that? Firebase. So there's a lot of different options. I think there's sponsors at this hackathon that have options for databases. So just kind of look around. But yeah, so this is our get. Now for the put request, we want to do this. So an ID of 1, we update the price to be 10. And so I think I did it already, but I'm going to do it again. And so now, yes, so now the price updated. So like earlier, the price of Fortnite was 0. Now Fortnite has gotten greedy. The Epic Games has gotten greedy and charges $10 for Fortnite. How dare they? Okay, and then last one, delete. So this one is actually a very simple one-liner. So in JavaScript, you can do a delete. There's a delete keyword, which just removes this field from this object. I believe it's gamesdb of, I think it's this, params.id. I think that should be sufficient. This will literally just take the ID and then take the ID and then remove the value. And so it removes the key and the value from the object. And so let's just see this in action and see if it, I believe that's how it is. I hope I'm not wrong about this, but, oh, wrong one, Postman. Okay. So again, we're gonna do a GET request. We have 1, 2, 3. We're gonna do delete games. We're gonna pass an ID of 1. And so we're gonna run it. Okay, delete item successfully. Let's verify that. And yeah, now it's actually gone. 2 and 3 are the only ones left. Like if I change this to 2, we only get the third one. So yeah, that's kind of how you fulfill those 3 operations. So, and obviously like for the get request, like with the whole filtering thing, I think where there's a lot of potential for more complicated logic or like more things you need to do for like maybe for your hackathon project is like you probably care a lot about how you filter your data. So like different projects will have different requirements, and so probably inside the get method is where there's going to be a lot of different you need a lot of different logic, and so but the whole idea should be the same. Like for every database model you have, you should have these. You should try to support these 4. Like, yeah, I definitely recommend you do it. Like especially you should especially do the delete request, because I will say from personal experience that not having a delete can make debugging painful, especially if you're using like Firebase or something or some persistent storage. You have to go to the website, log into your profile, go to your project, click the X button to delete the database object or whatever. And that's too much work. Just have a request that you can just click send in one button, and then it just removes it. So I highly recommend that just to save your life for these.
Daniel, real quick, can you go to the update request? Someone wanted to like get that.
I can if you want to see all the solutions, by the way, there's another branch in the repo. Let me go ahead and just copy paste this in the chat, by the way, so I can. Yeah, this is I just pasted the update one. But if you want to see all this, if you go to here, you can switch the branch to solution, and this is basically what I just wrote. I think the only difference is I actually wrote the one-liner in here for the filtering. But all of the solution is all here. So if you go to like solution games, it's all here. So yeah, so that's basically it, everyone. Make this look more presentable. There we go. So yeah, that's basically it for our workshop. There's a lot of here's some like other resources we recommend you check out. So obviously acmvr.com/sdhacks. These slides. There's also we also link to a Git tutorial. So if you're not familiar with how to use Git, just click on that link and you can find a tutorial on Git. We have some stuff on learning JavaScript as well as other Node.js modules, because I'm sure there's a lot of other stuff that you want to use depending on your project. There's a lot of modules that exist, and so I recommend you kind of explore that. There's also our Hack School series, so this is just like I'm gonna self-promote a little bit, but at ACM Hack, we did a Hack School series last quarter where we kind of went through how to create a MERN stack application. Yeah, like Trevin said, this goes really in depth into making a whole web application. So like, I'm just gonna like show this a little bit. Where's this is kind of like the project that we built. Let me turn off dark mode because it's getting a little weird. So this was like our full web application. So like here we like did, we have a page to create a new Pokemon. Like you can like draw things and then you can like specify the field and submit. And then we also have a view all Pokemon page. So you can, it'll take a while because like we have it deployed to a server and like the server went to sleep. And so we need to wake it up. Yeah, so there's like a bunch of stuff here. And so again, maybe this gives inspiration for your project when you do like for your hackathon. Because obviously all of this uses the 4 operations we talked about. Deletion isn't on here, I think, but the others
See,
are
we don't have delete, which is why there's all these like test Pokemon on our website. So
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is why
yeah,
you need
we don't-
delete.
yeah,
So
we
we don't have
don't
stuff
have
like this.
You should definitely have delete. Literally just make a trash icon somewhere, click it, and it calls a delete request. So like obviously this uses everything, right? Like we use a get request to fetch all this. You can do filtering here. So this is where like, oh right, there's no fire. There's no fire. Is there filtering that way?
Filtering may or may not be broken. Don't
All
worry
right.
about
Well, theoretically you can use filtering here. And then create is obviously like the like uploading a new Pokemon. So there's a lot of different things. And so, yeah, I just want to say thank you everyone for coming out to this workshop. If you're interested in learning more about our organization, like our general ACM UCSD organization, you can go to acmucsd.com. It's all white. I have a dark mode extension, so it's black. It's not supposed to be dark, but yeah, we do a lot of cool things here at UCSD and on campus. And yeah, feel free to just, message me if you have any questions about like the content. We have the ACM channel on Discord, so feel free to just ask questions in there if you have any questions. And yeah, that's basically it. I think I'll stick around for like if anyone has any remaining questions, but thank you everyone for coming out. And those of you competing, good luck with your project. Hopefully you don't die in these next 36 hours. Drink water, very important.
Yep. Thanks everyone for coming.
Thank you everyone for coming.
Good luck.
Stop sharing.
Daniel, can you inspire us with the story of how you won a hackathon with rotatable cardboard?
Oh yeah, sure. Let me where is this? So let me go to my dev post. So basically, not this hackathon, but at a much smaller hackathon where there is less competition. My team and I built rotatable. Basically, it is a so think about this. So let's say this is pre-COVID times. You go to get dim sum, and in the middle there's like the whole rotating table, right? Well, you know how it's so annoying. You have to like spin the table yourself to get the food you want. Why not have a table that rotates on its own? So we came up with rotatable, a cardboard table that just moves around on its own using a dragon board. It doesn't even do it has nothing to do with like computers. Like it doesn't like smartly rotate the food or anything. It literally just rotates. It doesn't do anything. It's a spinning piece of cardboard. It doesn't do anything else. And yeah, that's our winning hackathon idea. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Yes, it is recorded to be a spinning piece of cardboard. Yeah, look, we did so much fancy smancy. We used a dragon board. You had to install Docker and Python and Java and Node.js. We had to install all these. Amazing. Yeah, we won the just to give context, we didn't actually win the hackathon. We won the Dragon Board prize, which Dragon Board prize had like because using a Dragon Board is actually so hard. So like I think only like 2 teams actually successfully used a Dragon Board, and we were one of them. It's just our project just happened to be a meme, but we used the technology they wanted, so it worked out. True. Hey, we're solving important problems that aren't relevant anymore because you can't get them some, but still.
Oh wait, that was hard hack. Nice.
Yeah, it was hard hack. You made a hardware thing. I forgot what our original idea was. Like I don't even remember. We just I don't know. But we ended up with this, so we still presented. Okay, can we stop recording, please?
Yeah, I'll stop recording now.
Thank you. No one needs to hear about